Pranav, you can take off.
Sure, sir. So, namaste and good evening to people joining in from India, and good morning to people joining in from the United States, and I would say probably good afternoon to all from the central part of the world. On my personal behalf and on behalf of the Academy, I welcome all of you to today's this special lecture, none other than by India's G20 Sherpa, Shri Amitav Kant ji. A very warm welcome, sir. Thank you for sparing time and joining with us on this lectures. So, just to give you a quick overview, the Academy was established in December 2021 with the gorgeous support of one of our distinguished and illustrious alumni, Dr. Partha Ghosh, with a Mool Mantra to imbibe the sense of responsibility, accountability, problem solver, and many other attributes that a leader should have, irrespective of the working domain. So far, the Academy has conducted 25 lectures in online mode by various eminent personalities like Mr. Narayan Murthy, Shri Suresh Prabhuji, Mr. R. Gopalakrishnan, Ambassador Deepak Vora, and many more. Also, the Academy has successfully been conducting 5 days residential leadership training programs for senior officers of NIC and academicians of centrally funded institutes. We also soon plan to launch weekend leadership capsule programs in the coming months. With these words, I would welcome once again, sir, to this lecture series. And another request, sir, we would someday soon would like to see you in Kharagpur as well in person. So thank you for joining in, sir. I would request Dr. Ghosh to please share his vision of the Academy and give his thoughts.
Thank you, Pranav. Amitabh, it's so nice to see you. It was in your office in 2008 or 2009. I had the pleasure of meeting you. And obviously, we're very honored to have you. You'll be formally introduced by Commander Jaitley. But let me quickly share how happy I am. And having served the governments around the world, I could confidently say that you are definitely second to none. And you have become a model, particularly what I learned when I was in Japan, how Mr. Toyoda, who was one of your hosts, were talking about you with a tremendous amount of appreciation. So just to take a few moments to remind us the purpose of the Academy and why we believe it is our responsibility to build the Academy which could catalyze the development of a more enlightened civilization with fundamental tenets shaped by the core lessons embedded in our Vedic philosophy in unison with Western and Eastern philosophies. So that is the fundamental purpose. I want to put it in the context, as many of you may know, 83 years ago, just a few days before his last birthday, in April 1941, Tagore wrote an essay called The Crisis in Civilization. And he wrote, as I look around, I see the crumbling ruins of proud civilization strewn like a vast heap of futility. And yet, I shall not commit the grievous sin of losing faith in man. I would rather look forward to the opening of a new chapter in his history. And after this, a catalysm is over, an atmosphere rendered clean with the spirit of service and sacrifice. Perhaps that dawn will come from the horizon, from the east, where the sun rises. A day will come when the unvanquished man will retrace his path of conquest. I think that summarizes the spirit of the Academy. But unfortunately, as you know, that was 1941. Since then, we had the Second World War, the Korean War, the Vietnam War, what's going on in the Middle East. The world has even in a deeper sense of crisis than what Tagore observed in 1941. So all the more, it is important that we understand we have to reset how we lead, both in the political world, in the government world, as well as in the corporate world. In the corporate world also, as you know, we are controlling the finer powers of nature, but like metamaterials, like usage of fossil fuels, but in the process, we are hurting nature. The ecology, equity, and ethical balance have also been disturbed. So given this context, the purpose of the Academy, the way we see it, is to bring that new spirit of selfless problem solving, cultivate self-confidence in people, not arrogance, and in the process, dedicate their lives in the service of one humanity, which is again what Vedic philosophy talks about. So, from that point of view, this academy has a very important role, not only to revive the spirit of what Vedic philosophy has taught us, but position in the process a country like India, which could become a model for the rest of the world. But we have to earn that through our acts and behaviors, through our problem solving mentality, with yeah, full celebration of one humanity. So that is what this academy all about. I hope with your help, Amitav, with your help, with your support, and everyone who has joined in this audience, we could continue on the path forward. So once again, welcome. And I would invite Commander Jaitley to formally introduce you, though I know you do not need any introduction, but to Commander Jaitley.
Thank you, Parthada. Thank you, Amitabh ji. Thank you, Pranav. Ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege to introduce Mr. Amitav Kant, a luminary in the sphere of public service and governance, as our distinguished speaker today in the series of lectures we have every month. He belongs to originally Banarasi Babu, Uttar Pradesh, Varanasi. Mr. Kant's academic journey started from modern school, Delhi, then economic honors from St. Stephen College, Delhi University, then MA in International Relations, JNU, and then he went to Alliance Manchester Business School. His illustrious career as IAS officer, 1980 batch, Kerala cadre. And I tell you, his achievements in Kerala, they speak a lot. He did a great job. And while being the secretary for the tourism, you must have heard the phrase Kerala, God's own country. It was done by him. Today, Kerala is famous and Kerala is at a different level in tourism. Then he came to the central government, then Incredible India and Atithi Devo Bhav. These two words were also coined by him. So you can see his creativity wherever he has been. And then, of course, Make in India, Startup India, Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion, he did a great job. And then, obviously, he was CEO of NITI Aayog also for a very long time and did a great job. Today, as India's G20 Sherpa, sir, we are proud of you. What Parthoda just said, the whole world is one, universe is one. Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam is part of the G20 logo. I'm sure this must have been your idea, sir. His contributions have been recognized with numerous awards, including the Economic Time Policy Change Agent of the Year Award and the Bloomberg TV Personality of the Year Award. As we delve into the theme today, leadership in public service, we are indeed fortunate to have you, sir, Mr. Amitabh Kant ji, who will be sharing his profound insights and experiences with us. Please join me in welcoming a true visionary and an exemplary leader, Mr. Amitabh Kant ji. Let's give a big hand to him, sir. Sir, all yours.
Mr. Partha Ghosh, Mr. Pranav Patel, Commander Jaitley, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, I'm truly delighted to be speaking to all of you. And my service has been largely in government, and I'll broadly be speaking based on my own experience. You know, of the last about 4 decades that I've spent in government, and I'll try and some lessons in terms of leadership from there. And let me start with the most recent one, which was India's G20 presidency. India took over the G20 presidency in very difficult circumstances. It was the post-COVID era, which had seen about 200 million people go below poverty line. Almost 100 million people had lost their job. There was a conflict going on in the heart of Europe, which is the Russia-Ukraine crisis. And there was a challenge of slow growth around the world, and almost 95 countries of the world were facing a debt crisis. There was a challenge of climate action and climate finance. So several crises were rolled into one. Now, when India took over the presidency, the Prime Minister was very clear that our presidency must be inclusive, it must be ambitious, it must be action-oriented and decisive. Now, the challenge with multilateral forums like G20 or the United Nations is that there must be full consensus. If G20 means 20 countries, they must arrive at a full consensus. If consensus is not arrived at, then that subject is not agreed to. So the challenge for India was really to straddle several worlds of G7, emerging markets, developing countries, and also Russia, Ukraine, and China to bring a consensus on many of these issues. Now, India did its G20 in a very different manner. Normally, meetings are held in 1 or 2 cities. In the case of India, we held 220 plus meetings in 60 cities, covering all the states and union territories. And we used this opportunity to improve the infrastructure in all these cities. We also used this opportunity to promote local culture, local arts and crafts. And we brought in the philosophy of Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam. We said that this is one earth, this is one family, and we should have one future. That was the philosophical underpinning of the G20, that we may have geographical boundaries, we may have different political ideologies, but all of us belong to one common civilizational background, and therefore we must all be able to bring consensus to the several global challenges which the world is confronted with. Now, there were several challenges, and actually 16 ministerials had failed. All our ministerials had failed. And the job of the Sherpa, who's the representative of the Prime Minister, was to bring consensus on all key issues. And towards the end, we took all the Sherpas about 65 kilometers away much beyond Gurgaon, in a place called Nu, where the ITC Classic Hotel is there. And we started the process of negotiation. So we did about 10 days of hard negotiation to bring consensus. And there were several challenges. And while we were able to bring consensus on a range of issues, if you look at the issues which we were confronted with, on strong, sustainable, balanced, and inclusive growth, or accelerating progress in sustainable development goals, or the Green Development Pact, where there were huge challenges of climate action and
I'll give you in 5 minutes.
Or the multilateral institutions for the 21st century, or technological transformation, or women-led development, we were able to bring consensus on all these issues. India was very ambitious to bring the African Union as a member of G20 and make this a far more inclusive body. But we had a huge challenge as far as bringing consensus on the paragraph relating to Russia, Ukraine is concerned. And huge challenge because there was different perception of Russia and China on one side, another perception of the G7, and we had to negotiate for on that one single para, we negotiated for over 300 hours. We did about 250 rounds of bilateral, 16 drafts failed, and only in the 17th draft, on the night when leaders had already come into Delhi, that particular night, the final meeting was called at about 12 in the night. And we had to finally, by that time, we had done so many bilaterals that we knew exactly what were the red lines, and we gave out the final paragraphs. While we were negotiating, we did not allow any Sherpa to bring in his mobile, because any leakage would have caused huge setback to the process of negotiation. We did not allow any journalists to get in. And then finally, we said that this is the final draft. You either take it, or if you do not accept it, then no further discussions will be held. The leaders had already arrived. If anybody had a different perception, the concerned leader could actually talk to my leader, which is the Prime Minister. We had worked together with all the emerging markets together. So we gave them about 3 hours time, and at the end of about 4 o'clock in the morning, the meeting was to begin at about 8 o'clock in the morning. By 4 o'clock, we had consensus from all the G7 countries, except that we had not got a yes from United States of America. After we had given the final draft, Russia wanted some changes, including saying that there should be no, they had a different perception on some issues, which we did not agree to. And finally, we had to tell Russia that if you do not agree to this, then we'll have to make it 19-1. And if you do not agree, then tomorrow, after our Prime Minister has spoken, Mr. Zelensky will be the next speaker after the Prime Minister, and we'll get him virtually to speak. And that was the request of all the G7 countries. So finally, we got a consent. Russia, after hearing that Zelensky will be invited to speak, Russia agreed. And then in the morning, at about 7:30 in the morning, I got across to the American Sherpa, who said that they are broadly in agreement, but there were two challenges. One is they wanted a change in one of the sentences, which was not a difficult one, but they said that they wanted a consent from Russia and China both. Now, Russia's consent we had got in the morning, but then I got across to China, and China finally said that we have a challenge. And that challenge was not with reference to the Russia-Ukraine para, but one of the things on which they had already agreed that America will hold the G20 meeting in 2026, they wanted that to be withdrawn. So I had to ask them, why do you want it to be withdrawn? Because you've already agreed to this. So they said that Prime Minister who's come in has very strong views that America does not issue visas to the Chinese, that they do not issue visas to people from Hong Kong. And therefore, unless they don't give us a written guarantee, America does not give us a written guarantee that they will give visas to all the Chinese, including from Hong Kong for 2026 G20, we will not agree to this. So the leaders meeting actually started at about 9 o'clock. And then from about 9:30 to about 12:30, I had to discuss between China and America and finally bring a consensus. And with great difficulty, we were able to bring consensus on all 83 paras and 205 outcomes. And this was the first time that the G20 had agreed without any difference of opinion on all 83 paras and 205 outcomes. And that's how India achieved a very, very consensus-oriented G20. Not only was it inclusive, not only was it ambitious, not only was it action-oriented, not only did it make it G20 into G21 by including African unions, but it was able to bring consensus on all the key issues on which many of those issues on which United Nations had not succeeded. And we had got consensus also on the Russia-Ukraine para, which has eluded United Nations till now. And therefore, India's G20 was a resounding success because of its ability to straddle different worlds of developing world, of China, Russia, emerging markets, and bring consensus on all key issues. So what India demonstrated was its great ability to be a leader and to be able to bring its stature and standing to bring all countries together. And on the sidelines of G20, we also rolled out the Global Biofuel Alliance, and we rolled out the India, Middle East, Europe Economic Corridor, which will have huge multiplier impact in the future. So that has been India's big G20 achievement. And I, as the Sherpa, was able to negotiate, and therefore that was a deeply satisfying experience for me. I would like to then take you back to my job, my posting in Kerala, when I was actually, as a punishment posting, I was without a posting for almost 10 months. And after 10 months, as a punishment posting, I was posted as Secretary Tourism of Kerala. And that time, nobody had heard of Kerala as a tourism destination. People used to travel to Kashmir, or people used to travel to Rajasthan. Kerala was unheard of. So I used that opportunity, though it was a punishment posting, I used that as an opportunity to build Kerala as a destination, as a great tourism destination. And, while building Kerala, at that time, Kerala had only one tourism product, which is the Kovalam Beach, which is also we used to get low-value tourists from UK. And the opportunity was to differentiate Kerala from anything else in the world. So we went back to the roots of Kerala. We went back to Kerala's martial art, which is Kalripet. We went back to the traditional cuisine of Kerala, which is now many of you have heard of appam and stew. Nobody had heard of it then. We went back to the traditional Kerala art forms, Kathakali, Mohiniyattam, Tayyam, many of these traditional art forms. We went back to the traditional Kerala architecture, and the Nalkittam houses, which are extremely beautiful. So we went back to the roots of Kerala, and we created new products like the backwater, and which we opened up for tourism purposes, and the houseboats of Kerala, on which not a single nail is used. And that's how Kerala was built as a great tourism destination. And then we took Kerala up from a $20 a night destination to a $500 a night destination. And then one fine day, we had a journalist from the National Geographic who came in and who wrote about Kerala as one of the one of the 10 exotic paradises of the world, the editor Keith Bellow of National Geographic. And he said that Kerala is unique not only for its unique tourism products, but also for its high rate of literacy and its very advanced human development index. And that's why Kerala should be a must-see destination. And then soon after, I got a call. It was a Sunday afternoon and I was sleeping at home, and I got a call from the Principal Secretary to the Prime Minister, Mr. Vajpayee. That Mr. Brajesh Mishra came on the line, and he said that the Prime Minister wants to have a holiday in Kerala. He'll stay there for a week. No politicians will come near him. No local politicians, no chief minister. You will be the host. You will host him. So I hosted Mr. Vajpayee as the Prime Minister in the backwaters of Kerala for a week. And then one fine day, when I'd taken him to the backwaters and we had come back, Mr. Brajesh Mishra turned to Mr. Vajpayee and said that this young man has done a lot for tourism in Kerala. We should bring him to do develop tourism in Government of India so that the rest of the country can benefit. So Mr. Vajpayee turned to me and asked me that, क्या आपने भारत सरकार के लिए अप्लाई किया है? तो I said, no sir, I have not applied. तो he said, बहुत अच्छा किया आपने नहीं अप्लाई किया. अगर आप अप्लाई करते तो मिस्टर ब्रजेश मिश्रा आपको टूरिज्म के बदले वुमेन एंड चाइल्ड वेलफेयर में भेज देते. So that was the end of the story. But I applied 1 year, 2 months later, and I was to go to the finance ministry. But again, I got a call from Mr. Brajesh Mishra, and he said that, have you applied for Government of India? So I said, yes, sir. So he said, do you know where you are going? So I said, I'm told that I'm going to the finance ministry. So he said, no, you're not going there. You recall the conversation which we had when the Prime Minister was in Kumaragam. You will come to tourism ministry. So I said, sir, but there's no post vacant there. So he said, that's none of your concern. So they actually posted out a lady officer who was posted there to the Labour Ministry and created a post for me. And that's how I landed up in the Ministry of Tourism. And soon thereafter, as soon as I landed, there was a Twin Tower blast in New York, and there was a war in Afghanistan. There were several crises. There was travel advisories against India. There was an attack on our parliament. Our tourism had come down to just 10%. Very low occupancy of hotels, and all the hoteliers were coming to us and saying that there was no demand. And our job was then to get tourists back to India, and that was the time when all our neighboring countries, Indonesia, Malaysia, Singapore, had all stopped their marketing campaign. And at the peak of that crisis, we launched the Incredible India campaign. It was a very direct-to-consumer approach, because we felt going through tour operators and travel agents would not have been of any help. And that's how we built up Incredible India in a very big way. And Incredible India became a very raging campaign, because it again focused on the strength of India as a destination for yoga, for Ayurveda, for meditation. We went back to the strength of Kerala. So I worked in tourism for about close to about 6 years, and we built India as a destination. The demand grew, and as a consequence of a marketing-led strategy, tourists started coming in a very big way, and there was a shortage of airports, and that's how new airlines came up. New airports in Bangalore, Hyderabad, Delhi, Mumbai all came in, and that's how tourism grew in India. And when I had finished my term, I went back to Kerala for a short while, but I came back as CEO of the Delhi-Mumbai Corridor. And here the leadership challenge was to make new urban areas on the back of the dedicated freight corridor, which we were developing in partnership with Japan. And the challenge was to create new urban areas, which would be walk to work, which would be new urbanization. And what you see in Dholera in Gujarat and Chendra Bidkin in near Aurangabad, or what you see in Greater Noida, a creation of this Delhi-Mumbai Industrial Corridor concept which are well-planned cities in India, which will drive both manufacturing and urbanization in India. This was a lot of hard work, but a lot of excellent planning with some of the best planners of the world. And this was a concept of developing new urban centers in India, which would be both for manufacturing and for good living. And then I was posted as Secretary DIPP, the Department of Industrial Policy and Promotion. And soon thereafter, the government changed and Prime Minister Modi came in as the Prime Minister. And the first presentation that I made to him was on the challenges of manufacturing in India and how over the years in a socialistic setup, we've created so many rules, regulation, procedures, paperwork, and how our ranking in the World Bank Ease of Doing Business was 145th. And there were huge, huge challenges. And the Prime Minister then asked me to work on this ease of doing business and improve India's positioning. So we worked very hard. We scrapped over close to 3,000 rules, regulation, procedures. We made forms all less than 1 page. We had everything digital. It was very tough because that was the beginning of the period when we were trying to digitize everything. And we've eliminated close to 1,600 laws. And that's how India jumped up in the World Bank Ease of Doing Position ranking by 80 positions, and we made India easy and simple. We then started ranking Indian states. First time we did it, Gujarat came number 1. Next year, Andhra came number 1. The third year, Telangana beat both Gujarat and Andhra. But the good thing was that the mineral-rich states of Chhattisgarh and Jharkhand did a lot of improvement. They moved up and they came 4th and 5th. And we started this Make in India campaign, and Make in India was not merely ease of doing business, but it was opening up the FDI reforms. It was also opening up, improving on patents and trademarks. We also did the Startup India launch that time. That time there were just 156 startups in India. Today there are over 110,000 startups in India. There were about 120 unicorns in India. So a remarkable process of driving ease of doing business, Make in India, Startup India. And then when I was about to finish my term as Secretary DIPP in the Department of Industries, the Prime Minister asked me to join as CEO of the NITI Aayog, where I remained there for about 6 years, 10 months. And that was the period when we drove digitization of India's economy. And after demonetization, the Prime Minister asked me to do 100 digital mailers in 100 days, one after another. And that led to, everybody getting an Aadhaar. 2015 to 2017, we opened 550 million bank accounts. We then linked it up with Aadhaar and with mobile numbers. So today, everybody uses the mobile to do digital payments in India. We do 46% of the real-time fast payments in the world. China is next with, we had last year done 130 billion fast payments. China was next with just 26 billion fast payments. And therefore, what you've seen in India is as a consequence of this, that we are able to do a transaction in 30 seconds. We are able to do a stock transaction in 30 seconds. We can buy an insurance policy in 1 minute. Many transformational things we've been able to do because of the digital public infrastructure that we built up, which is all open source, open API, and is globally interoperable. So you can, from Eiffel Tower or from Singapore, you can do a digital transaction. So this has been the big driving force of Indian economy, the digitization, from, starting from identity to bank account, to linking up bank accounts, to mobile number and Aadhaar, to transactions, to stock market transactions, to insurance. All this we've done. And then I did another program there called the Aspirational District Program on the initiative of the Prime Minister, which was working with 115 of the most backward districts of India. And we looked at several outcomes. We looked at data. We looked at real-time data on how these districts were being transformed, and we started ranking these districts. And within a period of 3 years, out of these 115 districts, they became some of the best performing districts in India. And many of these districts' names you may not have even heard of, Kifre or Riboi or Malkangiri, many of them you may not have heard of. But these districts became better than the best performing districts of India simply because we were using data, outcomes, real-time performance, putting their ranking in public domain. And then I also worked on the production-linked incentive scheme, which is to drive manufacturing, which has led to Apple coming into India and creating over about 200,000 jobs. It has today become the second biggest manufacturer in India. It is exporting almost 98% of its Apple phones from India. That is about 20% of its manufacturing in India. Similar is the case with Samsung. So many of these remarkable things which we were able to do in through NITI Aayog. And to my mind, what we've been able to do is really that from between 2014 to 2018, we've been able to move India from the fragile five. You know, when 2014, you had the twin balance sheet problem of the balance sheet of the private sector and the banks being in very poor condition, to now being the top 5 countries of the world. And by 2027, we'll surpass Germany and Japan to be the 3rd largest economy in the world. In the last 3 quarters, we've grown at about 8.4% per annum, which is amongst the highest in the world. And by 2047, our aim is to become a $35 trillion economy in the world. And this has been possible to do it because of a vast number of structural reforms like GST, IBC, RERA, many other things, because of the huge amount of digitization that has been carried out, and because of the infrastructure creation. And the infrastructure creation has led to 40 million houses being built in India, which is like making a house for every single citizen of Australia. We've built about 120 million toilets, which is like making a toilet for everyone in Germany. We provided pipe water connection to almost about 253 million Indians, which is like providing a water supply to every citizen of Brazil. We've built about 88,000 kilometers of road, which is like laying India with roads 3 times over. So a huge amount of infrastructure creation, and the capital expenditure of government has moved up from 1% to 4% of the GDP during this period. We've also pushed for greener growth by pushing for renewable, about 187 gigawatt of renewable energy. We've brought down the prices of renewables very sharply, and now we are pushing for green hydrogen so that we become the cheapest producer of green hydrogen, become the largest exporter of green hydrogen, become the cheapest producer of electrolyzers. Now, this has been my experience in government. Now, government is very different from the private sector. Government means that you have to bring consensus, you have to bring everybody along, and you have to create both the administrative and the political will for transformation. So my leadership lessons from working in the government for over 2 decades is that you will succeed if you are visionary, if you are transformational, if you are very clear of what is the outcomes you want to achieve, and you have the belief, you have to believe in yourself that you will achieve those outcomes. And if you're clear about your goals and your outcomes, you will be able to take your team along. So it's very important to be visionary, because the size and scale of what you do in government is very different. And you are making an impact either at the complete state level, or you're making an impact at the national level. And therefore, it's very important to be transformational. Secondly, my own experience is that never be a status quoist. And you will always have to be courageous. You'll have to take risks to bring change. And therefore, taking risk is very important. Now, I've taken a lot of risk. I've also suffered in Kerala, but I've been able to get out of it. And therefore, my belief always has been that being just a status quoist can never enable you to deliver goods. Thirdly, I've always believed in being an optimist. I've always looked at myself as being a problem solver. So I believe in being transformational. I believe in being risk-oriented. I believe in being optimistic about big challenges which come my way, and I never give up. And fourthly, I've always believed that to succeed, you need to prepare yourself, and you have to be more knowledgeable and more prepared than anyone else. During G20, I had to study over and over again what stand different countries are taken at different points of time. And therefore, relentless preparation is important. You have to know more than anyone else to be able to argue it out and prepare yourself. So I believe in relentless preparation before getting in. And also, I've also believed in, when I was in NITI Aayog, I brought in this new scheme of young professionals, and we had 500 young people around me. So transformation comes when you're surrounded with young people who are also effective. They generate new ideas. They're good at implementation. And it is a young India. Our average age is just 29. And therefore, the more you surround yourself with young people, with effective people, you'll deliver more. And therefore, one of the key leadership lessons I've learned is that instead of surrounding yourself with outdated people, surround yourself with young people and effective people. And I've also believed that you have to be a good communicator to your team, not only to the politicians above, to the people below, and to the people in large all over the country. You have to communicate what's your vision, what you want to achieve, what's your target, and therefore communicating is very important. And lastly, I've always been a believer that technology is very critical in a country like India. Use technology to leapfrog, like we've used in digital technology, like we're using in electric vehicles. Similarly, in India, in several new areas of artificial intelligence, data, machine learning, all these quantum computing, all these are new areas of growth where India has the power to use this vast amount of data, use the skilled manpower that it has, and use its computing power to technologically leapfrog. And therefore, technology will be very, very critical to India's growth in the coming years. And I've also been a great believer in building state capacity, in improving India's state effectiveness to deliver basic services, which will help us to improve equity at scale in India. So these are my few views on leadership based on my own experience. And I feel that it's very important for civil servants and people across to be transformational, to be visionary, to think big, to think large, and to be have young people around them and use technology to leapfrog. So with these few words, I'll conclude, and I'll be very happy to respond to any query that you may have.
Thank you very much, sir. It's really great to learn a lot from you. I'm sure all those who are listening to you, they are really have gained a lot from a person who is called a go-getter, the problem solver, and some of the messages which you gave at the end, that you got to be optimist, you got to be more knowledgeable than all your team members, and you have to do a lot of relentless preparations. Really great, sir. The house is open for questions. If some people have sent the questions in the chat box, please let me know. Yeah, I can see there are some questions, but many of them, sir, they are just praising you. They are overawed. Let me tell you, I heard. Yeah, there is somebody.
Any question, I'll be very happy to respond.
Yes, sir.
Vijay
Sir,
Naran.
one question somebody asked me a few days back, in fact, not today. He said you were one of the most prominent IAS officer with the previous government, and you continue to hold the same position as one of the most prominent under the present dispensation also. How do you manage that, sir? Everybody wants you to be at the...
No, the important thing is to just do good work, be professional, give good advice to politicians, to your ministers, tell them what is feasible, what is not feasible, be frank and be fearless. I think that's what I've always done. Sometimes it works with good ministers, sometimes it doesn't work. It didn't work with the communist regime in Kerala. But sometimes you are lucky to have a good minister. So it works sometimes. So this is part of life.
Great, sir. Great, great. And sir, what was that punishment posting, sir, in Kerala? What was that, sir?
No, you see, in life, it's not possible for you to keep having, continuous growth. As in life, similarly in career, you'll have your ups and downs. Important thing is that, when you have your downs, you should be able to remain positive, don't lose your morale, and remain optimistic that, and bad days pass. I had a very terrible 10 months of period, but they passed, and then I bounced back. So it happens in life and career, and I think each one of us, either in personal life or in official life, will go through such processes. But the important thing is to remain positive and be optimistic, and believe in yourself.
Sir, this Parthogosh Academy has started conducting leadership courses for different categories of people, like the academicians, NIC officers, corporate leaders, etc. Now, there has been a suggestion to conduct such courses for the politicians also. What are your views on that, sir?
No, you should do that. It'll be good if you can start with politicians in West Bengal because they are the most complex and the most difficult. So if you succeed in West Bengal, you'll succeed everywhere in India.
That's great. That's great, sir. Yes. Okay, we will try from West Bengal itself, sir. Done. Okay. Anybody else? Just raise your hand. Puran Dangji wants to ask something, sir. Unmute, sir. Puranji, unmute. Puranji, unmute. Puran Dangji, unmute. Sir, we can't hear you, Puranji. Please unmute.
Mr. Santosh wanted to ask a question.
Okay, Santoshji, please go ahead. Unmute yourself, Santosh.
No, it's
Santoshji,
okay. You
unmute.
hear me? Okay.
Yes, sir, we can
My
hear you now.
compliment-
Puranji, please go ahead. Puranji, let Puranji go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. I want to compliment Mr. Kant for such a stimulating and realistic conversation, or his ideas and his achievements at G20, Kerala, manufacturing, tourism, climate. He has done it all. My question to you, sir, is what is the overall ranking of India today in the whole world? Overall.
So let me tell you that if you were to look at India's, right now the fifth largest economy in the world, and as I said, it is poised to be the third largest, overcoming Japan and Germany by 2027. But let me also say that India needs to grow at high rates for a long period of time, and this would require us to do several things, improving our human development index, because improving our learning outcomes, our health outcomes, our nutritional standards, all this is very important. I think also we need to urbanize, and we need to take a large population of our population away from agriculture into manufacturing. So we need to accelerate the pace of our manufacturing and bring size and scale of manufacturing in India. And we need to enhance our agriculture productivity in many, many ways. All these are, there are many challenges before the country, which I think we need to overcome them in the next decade.
Okay, thank you, sir. Santosh, please unmute. Santosh Talagati. Santoshji. Mr. Santosh, yeah, please.
Sir, namaste. Sir, we are very proud of India for the G20, the way it revolutionized the entire ecosystems, not only science and technology, even civil society and all different domains. It has set an example in the entire world that how best programs can be conducted in India for the revolutionary movement. So my question here is, G20 has made such an impact, and we have even read the papers, the takeaways from that one. How India can take, this movement that you have set as an example for years as a development. So what roles that young Indians can play to make all the dreams and all the work has been done in 1 year, which is equal to hundreds of years of work. If I just say in one word that the work has been done, it is really revolutionary. I have gone through the documents. So what is your suggestion to young India to take whatever you have done to implement that thing, and how we can contribute, how we can reconnect with that G20's readings?
So many of you would have seen that this country had also held the Commonwealth Games earlier, which where there were many challenges in terms of execution and also in terms of integrity. When we did the G20, we were very clear that we had to do them with professionalism, with integrity, and we took it across the country. We had to involve the states. Everyone was involved. And therefore, my view is that having demonstrated that we could do the G20, India can now do the Olympics in 2036. But you need to work with the states. You need to bring professionalism. You need to do things with integrity. And you need to really plan it out. And many of those things I said, that relentless planning was one of the key things in G20. That Actually, we were doing 5 years of work in 1 year. So
Yeah.
we were squeezing in a lot.
Yeah.
And we built up a good team of professionals.
Yeah.
And this demonstrated actually that India is capable of hosting big events in a very successful manner.
Yeah.
And I think India is capable of doing this in the coming years.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much.
Thank
So
you,
I'll
sir.
have the-
General Khurana, sir. General Khurana.
Thank you. Mr. Kant, firstly, my very sincere compliments to you for your contribution to the development of our country and where we are today. It's remarkable. But I'd like to take a slightly, I'd like to request you to give a slightly different version of leadership in the public services. Today, there's a growing perception that because of the nature of the political leadership, the interference in the administrative setup, and maybe the kind of inputs probably that also coming. And I'm being an army officer, I'll accept that it's happening all around. That spine of the nation is getting softer. And I would like you to kindly tell us about, not at the highest level that you've talked about, whether it's the state or the government, central government, but at the level of leadership as we go down to districts, commissioners, and so on and so forth. There is this perception that the leadership of the central services or the state services tend to accept or get pressurized by the political leadership, which is not in the interest of the nation. Would you kindly give your views on that? Thank you.
So the quality of intake is still very high. It's not that people who join with very high level of morale. They want to do good work. Young people want to deliver for the country. It's also important for these young people to be able to work professionally and tell the politician that we are going to work as per these rules, regulations, which have been laid down, which are in the interest of the country. And many of them, most of them do that. Many of them suffer. Actually, several officers have suffered because of this. They've been not merely transferred out, they've faced vigilance inquiries, they've been suspended, they've been harassed. All this is a part of life. But I think I still feel that a very substantial component of our civil servants still continue to do outstanding work in transforming country. You will always have some black sheeps. You will have black sheeps in every service. But politician does his job. He's to win the elections for next time. As long as your worldview, your interest coincides with his views, that you are there to transform society, transform the country. Your objective should be the larger objective of transforming the country and doing good. Wherever I've worked, I've had a larger picture of transforming that city. When I was collector, I transformed Calicut. When I was subdivisional officer, I was able to transform a backward area like Telisheri. So, and I never had a challenge at the local level from any politicians. They always supported me in the good work that I was doing. So as long as your intentions are clear, if your vision is clear, all politicians will work with you to achieve that goal.
That's great, sir. Thank you, sir.
Can
Vijay
I-
Narangji, please go ahead. Vijay Narang.
Can this be the last question?
Sir, 2-3 more, sir.
Okay.
There are too many hands, sir. Too many hands. Vijay Narangji, please go ahead.
This is Vijay Narang calling from Boston. I am extremely impressed with what you have achieved. It's absolutely amazing what you have done, mind-boggling. I don't have a question per se, but I have a small suggestion. I recently went over to Japan and the interior parts of Japan, and I was extremely impressed by some of the cultural values that are practiced over there, namely perfection in everything. They have got quality in everything that they do. They're very courteous. They're very punctual, and cleanliness. Some of these things which really struck me. This is one area where I think our country, India, is a bit deficit. And we need to make changes culturally. And this has to start from the bottom. The parents have to take charge and the teachers have to take charge. How do we transform this? I think one of the things that I can draw upon is the Prime Minister's Man Ki Baat, in which he brought in the element of yoga. And now yoga has become literally ubiquitous all around the world. If yoga can be instituted and spread around, there is no reason that the attributes of yoga, which include meditation, perfection, quality, punctuality, cleanliness, cannot be added on. What my suggestion is that if these elements can also be talked about by the Prime Minister as an adjunct to yoga, I think it will be a great deed and great achievement and help out the country hell of a lot. That is point one. The second point that comes to my mind is that the Parthu Ghosh Academy of Leadership is a crucible of ideas. It's a fountainhead. If you can help to also put this PJL on the world map, I think there can be an amazing transformation. So we have ideas and we have things to implement.
Sir,
Thank
we
you,
are on the world map already, sir. Amitabh, sir, please.
let me first thank Mr. Narang. He's made some very good suggestions, and let me merely say that I work very closely with the Japanese, and they have a great sense of discipline. They have a great sense of that's one civilization which has suffered always because of natural calamities and always bounced back because of discipline. So what Mr. Narang has said are very useful suggestions. The Prime Minister has been using every forum, including his Man Ki Baat and his speeches and his Republic Day talks, etc. He spoke first about cleanliness and Swachh Bharat from the ramparts of Red Fort. So he's been doing that from every forum. And I think it's gradually and slowly, I see that a lot of change in the mindset and in the behavior of Indians is now taking place. And I think it will require sustained push over the next decade to see, if you go to cities like Indore or if you go to Surat, these were some of the dirtiest cities of India. They have been transformed into some of the cleanest cities of the world now. And therefore, this will require sustained effort, and it will also require learning from each other's good experiences and including learning from international experiences. But I think we are well on the path to that.
Thank you, sir. We are going to have last two questions, sir, only two. Mr. Ehsanul Haq, please unmute. Ehsanul Haq. Okay, if he's not doing it, Devinder Singh ji, please go ahead. Unmute and please go ahead, Devinder Singh. Unmute. Yeah.
So, with folded hands and my deepest reverence to Mr. Kant for this inspiring speech. My question is, as we all know that for India to be the world leader, there has to be 8% plus growth rate over the next 20 years, for which every company in India must consider the world as its market. And for this to happen, the product has to be world class. So to deliver this kind of quality, to deliver this kind of services to the world, there has to be leadership at all levels. So since you have been working very closely with the Honorable Prime Minister to facilitate a conducive environment for growth, my question is, how could Government of India build a culture of excellence in the country to inculcate the values which would take us forward? Thank you.
See, Mr. Singh, everything the government can't do. I mean, don't ask the government to do everything. It's time, Indian businesses, Indian large businesses, Indian MSMEs, Indian small enterprises all focus on quality. Without quality, India can't grow at those rates. And sometimes look at the challenges we are facing in our pharma products. Look at the challenges we are facing in our spices product. It's all quality produced. It's all Indian entrepreneurs doing that, who are giving us a bad name. So it's Don't blame the government for everything. Everything has to be driven by companies, by businesses, by ethics, and unless and until we do not develop that sense of quality and of excellence, we will not be able to penetrate global markets. Without exports, you will not be able to grow at 8 to 9% per annum. And that would require world-class excellence, which all companies will have to do.
Thank you, Amitabh sir. Dipanjan Malik. Please unmute yourself, Dipanjan Malik.
Sir, I'm audible?
Yeah.
Gratitude, sir, for allowing me to speak in this meeting and to give this opportunity to ask Amitav Kant sir the question. Sir, I have actually two questions, two parts. The first one is, sir, you are a visionary, and you have also said that it is important to set to your goals clearly and your visions in front of your team. But I want to know, because you have success in different departments and you have obviously different teams, how did you communicate your vision to the level of the front desk staffs, who are also very much important for the kind of success you have achieved within that short period? What is that magic wand that set everyone into the action mode? I know being in the government that it is not always an easy task. This is number one question, sir. And number two is, during those down periods, in this challenging time, you said that you remain positive. But how did you prepare yourself to achieve the success in such a level where your all 83 paras by all the G20 countries have been agreed upon, and there's 205 outcomes? So these are the two questions, my sir.
So one is on achieving consensus. We had to do very ruthless, very tough, very brutal negotiations, and we had to do a lot of brinkmanship, but a lot of that we could achieve success because of the stature and standing of India and of the stature and standing of the Prime Minister himself. Secondly, on bringing everybody together, it's important that the vision should not extend to you alone, but the vision should extend to your entire team. And unless you are able to communicate that vision to your entire team, and they are also inspired to achieve that vision, you will not be able to achieve that goal. And therefore, taking the entire team, and there again, there's a lot to learn from Japan, because every time they go, and even when they come for a meeting, 6, 7 of them come together because everybody wants to be on the same page. And therefore, it's very important that you are constantly motivating, constantly inspiring your team so that everybody is aiming at achieving the same outcome and the same target.
Sir, thank you very much. We are really delighted to listen to you. And the response we have got today is excellent, let me tell you. So may I request Parthoda to kindly wind it up, sir. Just a quick summary, sir. Partho Ghosh, unmute, sir. Parthoda, unmute.
Amitav, thank you very much. I think you are a perfect representation of what leadership is all about. And only 3 points I've taken, which I think is the most at the root of leadership. The first point is, whether you call it punishment or adversity, how to deal with those situations with grace and dignity to create new possibilities. I mean, that is clearly demonstrated all through your glorious career as part of the Indian public service. The second thing that, as you know, Amitav, I spent about 15 years in Japan working with companies like Sony's and Toyota. And I feel that what you have proven, particularly in managing the 205 outcomes and 83 paras with G20, suggest that yes, if we have the mind, we know how to build consensus. Because often the complaint is that in India, people have so many strong egos, it is difficult to build consensus. Not only you have done that at a state level like Kerala, but you have done across nations. And so consensus building is an art, and it is only possible, I think, Amitabh, you'll agree, when we can keep our egos outside and divine within and embrace everyone. So that is the second message I take. And the third message from the group, which came through the question answer session, we are all, I think, ready to create the new India. In that spirit, the Academy of Leadership that we have established with your support, maybe we could create a nationwide movement of discipline, excellence, problem solving, selflessness, self confidence, which you represent so beautifully. So we have to be able to create what, if I may use the term, many clones of Amitabh Kant. If the academy could achieve that with your help, with Prime Minister's help, I think we can create a great India. So with that, that is my quick summary, because you have given us all the key word. And the key point here is that we should always be visionary and transformational, yet practical. So with that, I'd like to thank you very much, Amitav, and look forward to meeting you either in Delhi or in Boston or in Japan. In fact, Toyoda-san wanted to join the meeting. He sends his regards to you from the Japan Economic Foundation, as well as he's the president of Space One now. He's leading the Japanese space movement. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Parthoda. Thank you. Now, may I request Professor S.K. Varshney, the chairman of the Academy, to give a formal vote of thanks.
Sir, it's my great pleasure to thank you from my bottom of my heart for your time as well as accepting our invitation. My apologies that I couldn't join at 7:30 due to delay some non-technical issues. And we look forward for a visit to IIT Kharagpur, sir, in the sooner in maybe within this year. As we plan, we'll get in touch with you. And many thanks for the insightful discussions. And I'm sure that everybody has gained. I learned many things, many keywords, many things that the most important is that you need to implement or do start practicing on individual, on ourselves. So with this formal vote of thanks, I would like to thank you all the audience, all the people who have joined from across the globe, and our Parthada, to thank you so much. Commander JTG, thank you so much. And I can see Ravikant sir, good to see you, and thank you so much, sir. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day ahead. Thank you.